Hello, I'm Harry Cole, political editor of The Sun, and this is Mind The Ballots. The Tory party, remember them? They're now halfway through their contest to replace Rishi Sunak. So we thought it might be time to start meeting the candidates. Joining me today, one-time frontrunner, members' favourite according to the polls, from former Cabinet Minister Kemi Badenoch. Kemi, welcome to Mind The Ballots.
Thank you, Harry.
I'm afraid I'm going to start with quite a serious subject. Does it trouble you that Huw Edwards, he walked free from court yesterday? That doesn't sit right, does it?
No, it doesn't. I think it's extraordinary. And I've been talking about this with quite a few people. And if I did become leader of the opposition, I'd be commissioning a review of sentencing guidelines. There's something that's not wrong, that's not right. There's something very wrong. And it feels like there is a two-tier system where some people or some crimes are looked at differently from much more minor ones, and we don't want that.
How is it we've got to a situation, and leave the riots aside, because obviously that is a slightly sort of toxic issue in terms of what happened over the summer, but more generally, do you understand the anger that people see and feel that, you know, someone says something stupid on the internet, writes something, you know, it may be racist, it may be horrible, but they're not paedophiles, and they're going down for 3 years, and this guy, a powerful, rich man, wanders out of court. How do you explain that to the punter?
It doesn't make any sense, and this is why I said we need to have a review. It does feel like there are certain people who are policed in a way that is a lot more strict for very minor things, and we need to have faith in our justice system, but also a key Conservative principle is equality under the law. It shouldn't matter whether you have money or you work for the BBC or you've been on TV. You should be punished for having committed something as serious as that. It is extremely serious. And I think a lot of people will be looking at how many of the sort of media establishment came out to defend him very early on. Yes, of course, you believe in innocence before until you're proven guilty. But the glee with which many of them went out to defend him, I think, given what he has been convicted of, shows that there is an attitude that there's some people who couldn't possibly have done something wrong, and we should not.
Leaving Edwards aside, though, the National Crime Agency said 8 out of 10 people convicted for child abuse images avoid prison. How have we got to the stage? And you know, surely the Tories, who've been in power for the last 14 years, have to take some responsibility for the fact that our justice system appears to be completely bonkers.
Well, I think that there is a view which needs to change, that there is a difference between viewing images and creating them. Yeah. I think that that is not right. When those images are created, it is because there is a market for it. It is also not something that any child has consented to. So these are abuse images. They're not child porn, as some people describe them. And so we should have a levelling up of that. Of course, there will be things which mean that others are reticent to do that. You know, we have an issue with prison places for, at the moment. Some believe that someone viewing things is less dangerous than someone actually committing those crimes. This is why a review is necessary. Yeah. Many of these things are relatively new compared to where we were 15 years ago before the Conservative Party came into government. We need an update. We need a refresh of these laws.
And how far will this review go? I mean, take, for example, the long debate we've been having over protests. Yes, the riots were rightly clamped down on, but, you know, we've seen disorder in the streets of London for months on end through the Gaza protests. Some communities seem to get a truncheon to the face, and some communities seem to get the Metropolitan Police taking the knee. Surely this goes wider than just justice. It's got to be...
well, what I was talking about was sentencing guidelines. Yeah. I think that we've just piled on loads and loads of sentences, loads of different laws, and it's all gotten messy, and there's a mishmash. I think with some of the examples that you've given, it depends on whether it's a magistrate court or a Crown court. So some things get seen very quickly. If you commit an offence that's seen by a magistrate, it will happen much faster than a Crown court. But the real problem is that people don't understand that. Even as an MP, I didn't understand. I had to do a lot of research. And even now, I'm not an expert on this, but people need to see justice being done. The perception matters as much as the reality. One other example is the sentences where people are released halfway through the sentence, where the full sentence isn't jail time. Most people assume that a sentence is jail time, not something hanging over your head. And we're not in government right now. This is absolutely the right time for us to be carrying out a review of how these things have come to be. Quite often, we just layer lots of things as we're firefighting, fixing problems in government. But now is a good time for us as a Conservative party, we're not the government, to look again at how we can do better.
Surely the problem was the Tories didn't build enough prisons and there's not enough space to put this through. And all of this is sort of window dressing around the fact that we want to bang up a lot more people than we can.
Well, there are multiple factors. We did want to build lots of prisons. I stood on a manifesto to build prisons. One, COVID.
Yeah.
So there was a prison right on the edge of my constituency, Wethersfield. All the plans stopped during COVID. Second thing, it's now being used, that site is now actually being used to house asylum seekers. So the problems of immigration have a knock-on impact on everything else. But the third is money. Our entire justice system, the MOJ's budget, is 2 weeks of what the DWP's budget is. We're spending money on welfare, not on the things that we really want government to do. And we're going to need to re-engineer that. So when I talk about the system being broken, those are the sorts of examples that I use.
Just quickly, just while we're on justice, I wanted to get your reaction to a case that was in the courts the other day. I don't know if you saw the sign that the woman held up calling Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman a coconut. She's walked free from court. She held that up at a protest. If she'd put that on the internet, arguably she could be, being prosecuted for harmful content. What was your reaction to that? Do you think she should have gone to prison?
Well, I think that the law needs to be applied equally. There are clearly some people who put some racist things online and go to prison.
Yeah.
So why not her? We either have hate crime laws or we don't.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is that there's certain groups who it's okay if you insult them and others who it's not. So Conservatives, it's fine. Doesn't matter what you say. It's not racist if it's about a Conservative, but if it's someone else, then it becomes racist. And that's what I think the problem is. That term is a racial slur. It is loaded. It is only used about ethnic minorities, and it is used as a way of policing what we are allowed to think. It's completely wrong. I think that the sentence is wrong. We either have hate crime laws or we don't.
Your colleague in the Tory party, Sayeeda Vazi, was openly celebrating the verdict. You comfortable sharing the party with her? Do you think she should be?
I know that complaints have been made about that. I think she should not have done that. It was completely wrong.
Let's talk about another two-tier Keir. It must be incredibly frustrating to sit there in opposition now and see, Mr. Rules, the guy who was lecturing you not long ago for ethics and values and donations and scandals, taking donors' dresses. The guy's a hypocrite, isn't he?
I do think that this has exposed a significant amount of hypocrisy. It's not just the clothes, it's the fact that they were for his spouse, not for himself. It's the use of private jets, which they criticised Rishi Sunak for endlessly, but just a clear feeling that they think that they're just better people and that when they do things, it's okay. But when people on the right, when Conservatives do things, that's when it's bad. It's not about the action, it's about who is doing it, and that's a real problem.
Do you think any of it really makes any difference, given the scale of the defeat, given the size and the majority? They can basically do what they want, right?
Well, certainly for the next few years, unless something significant happens, we've got a Labour government with a big majority. But it was quite clear that the vote last time was for people to kick us out, not to bring them in.
How would you take that fight to them, though? If you were leader of the opposition, how are you even going to get remotely in? The history is littered with Tory leaders of the opposition up against big Labour majorities who have failed.
Well, we need somebody who can get cut through, and this is something that I've been able to do, even as a
certainly
junior
generate
minister,
headlines.
Long before I was the Secretary of State, I was able to do that because I speak the truth and I speak very clearly. There's no waffle, there's no using jargon and officialese, but I also talk about principles and values and things that matter to people. That's one of the reasons why I'm running. I think we've gotten lost in very technocratic language about policy, which is important, but which any party can do. It's your values that matter. And it's going to be very difficult, but I think that we've got one chance to get this right. It's when we get it wrong that we end up in opposition for a long time. If we get it right, we win.
What about opposition for opposition's sake, though? Because you are on the record saying that the winter fuel payment system needs reforming, and you were open to a wider means testing of it. Why not then back the government on what they're doing?
Because this is not the solution that I was proposing. I said millionaires shouldn't be getting the winter fuel payments, not take it away from poorer people. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they were asked about this multiple times. They were asked about what they were going to do during the election, and they refused to say. So they hid their agenda. That's why we're opposing them, because people didn't know what they were voting for when they were voting for Labour.
Let's look on the Tory race as it is. So you were in first round.
No, I wasn't. I was in
second. You're in second first round, but by quite a little bit of distance. You're catching up. Were you disappointed not to be the front runner? You went into this as the favourite.
Not really. The whole language around the favourite is about what members want, which is true. That when you poll members, yes, I'm the favourite. I've never actually been the favourite.
Liz Truss was their favourite as well, though. That didn't go very well.
Well, she won, didn't she?
Exactly.
So, yes, exactly. So it's not about. We're not talking about what you'll do. We're talking about whether or not you can win. And what is important is that MPs send the people who the members want. Actually, when you looked at the members' poll 2 years ago, Liz Truss was not the favourite. Penny Mordaunt and I were the favourites.
Yeah.
And MPs did not send the favourites to the members. So I hate this thing where people attack our members when actually the decisions are really made by MPs. I don't mind not being the front runner because it's not about the endless polling. It is about the relationships. It is about catching up. It is about the offer which you're making. Being the front runner just means you have a target on your back. And what I saw throughout the last 2 years was lots of people trying to attack me and drag me down.
But
I'm still here.
You're a frontline politician. You can't really complain about people being mean to you.
No, but I'm not complaining. You said, do I mind not being the front runner? And I said no, because when you're the front runner, you get attacked.
Why do you think you're not the front runner amongst your colleagues, though? We've just talked about this before at your launch, and there are concerns from your colleagues that perhaps your style, your sort of, as you say, you can get attention, you can draw attention to the Tories, but not necessarily always in the way that your colleagues want you to. Are you concerned that there's a sort of reticence amongst your colleagues about putting this through to the members?
No, I'm not. Most of the things that people are talking about are actually me going after Labour, which is what the opposition, which is what the leader of the opposition should be doing. No one really sees me going after Conservatives. I don't think you should speak ill of fellow Conservatives. I'm actually very careful about that. But look at who's supporting me. I've got the majority of the shadow cabinet who've declared that they're supporting me. If I was somebody who was difficult to work with, they wouldn't do so. All of the ministers who worked with me, whether the ones in the Lords or the ones in the Commons, the ones who can come out and support, they are supporting me. If I was really difficult and really hard to work with, that would not be happening. What you said is what the people who are competing against me are trying to see.
Well, it's a leadership race, though.
Yes, exactly.
And what about things like Nadine Dorries has been raising, the idea that you're some sort of puppet to Michael Gove and a sinister cabal of Cummings and
so this is
people like Dougie Smith?
This is another thing. I've never even met Dominic Cummings, ever.
Yes. Have you ever spoken to him?
I don't know. I think I might have been maybe on a Zoom call or something. I've never met him. So this just goes to show just how much fiction is being written. But it's also very entertaining. Oh, she doesn't listen. She's so headstrong. She doesn't work with anyone else. Oh, but actually, she's being controlled by somebody that you can't.
Michael Gove is involved in your campaign, though, right?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
What about Dougie Smith?
No, not at all.
No one like that?
Nope. My campaign is...
Where are the MPs getting this stuff from? They're just making it up?
Well, they're getting it from Nadine's book. You just said it. And it is a work of fiction. But this is what you have to deal with. As a politician, I'm somebody who has always said, I stand for truth. If you look at when I have had fights, it has always been about the truth. Whether it was with Labour, whether it was, on the media, when I have those tough
pops at us on Twitter.
It's when people are telling lies. I hate lies. I can't deal with it.
But you had a pop at me for just revealing something you said in a perfectly fair fashion.
Oh, what was that?
Your previous comments on liberalising the migration system and abolishing work visas.
When did I have a pop at you?
You had a pop at me on Twitter.
I
said
did?
This is outrageous.
No, I didn't say that.
You did.
I didn't say that. I just said this is something which is being, misrepresented. But I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
Why are you upset if I'm saying?
I'm not upset. I'm just saying it sort of rubs people up the wrong way.
This is what people. This is how you get controlled. Oh, you're not allowed to say this. Or don't say that. And so you end up having politicians who don't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. But I better not say anything because someone might not like it. Do the right thing. Speak the truth. That's what I'm
you
about.
have come on a bit of criticism from your not just your direct rivals but other MPs for going on holiday. In this campaign.
Yes, apparently that's a bad thing.
Yeah, but I mean, do you understand? I mean, you've obviously got a very limited window of time to win this race.
Yes.
So, the Tory party is still reeling from defeat. Do you not think it's a sort of slightly wrong message?
Well,
How many days off of the campaign have you had?
Well, look at this. Lots of people have said the campaign is too long, and you just said it's too short. But the fact is, we are in the members.
I think we all agree it's too long.
Well, exactly. So, it's too long, but you can't take a holiday. Listen to that. But also, we are still in the MP stage. MPs were on holiday. So saying you can't take a holiday is extraordinary. When I have 3 children, they've just finished school. I've got no childcare. I've promised them a holiday. You want politicians to be normal people, and then say you can't go on holiday. Has it made a difference? I don't think so.
Has the campaign...
And actually, what's happened is many MPs have said, thank you for doing that, because it makes our lives easier. I am not somebody who's going to be pushed around and told what to do by false expectations. I will do the right thing. I'm a mother, I look after my children, I tell the truth, I keep my promises, and if that means taking them on holiday, I will do so.
And very good. Your forthright style has not just been commented on by the media, by MPs. There's some stories that emerged over the summer from civil servants who you worked with where they accused you of bullying. What do you say in response to those?
No civil servant has ever accused me of bullying.
Never?
The person who's made the accusation was not a civil servant. She was someone who I brought in on a fixed-term contract to be a PA and to do things which a civil servant should not do.
Right.
Almost all of the things in there are fabrications or misrepresentations. So there was a bit that said, I tried to get the taxpayer to pay for my holiday.
Yeah.
No, I had a holiday booked and I was asked if I would travel. And I said, what are the options to get me back to the holiday to be with my family? It's things like that. But it's The Guardian that does this. They have hated me since the first day that I became... Because I represent everything that they don't like. I represent a love for this country. I represent ethnic minorities choosing to be on the centre-right. I represent not wanting race to be the thing that defines all of us, not wanting to divide people into groups. I'm very against extreme gender ideology, extreme trans ideology, which they push, and I do it well. So, of course, they don't want me to be a Conservative leader. That is the thing that members tell me, that you're the one that the left is scared of. You're the one that they don't want. And if I am Conservative Party leader, they're going to have a very difficult time.
All one disgruntled former employee.
Yes. So it's
really, because there was multiple.
Yes, no. They say they. It's one person. It's one person, and I can prove that if you want the proof.
I want to show you something. Have a look up here.
Okay.
A blog post in 2006 from someone called Kemi. Did you write that? Most of the people who changed the world for good were notoriously rude. It was the bad people, Idi Amin, Hitler, etc., who were charming and respectful. You remember writing that in 2006?
I don't remember it, but it was a blog. It was a blog that I used to read. I mean, I can't remember if I wrote a comment somewhere 20 years ago.
On that, is that what you think? Is that what you think, that most of the people who changed the world for good were notoriously rude?
Because I don't know about that.
That's what people say about your style. It doesn't matter. You know what's right. You know what you're doing, and if people don't like it, then they can get out of the way.
I can't speak about comments that someone saw on a website 20 years ago. But I can speak for myself that I do think plain speaking is absolutely important.
Yeah.
That is not rudeness. Being plain speaking, telling the truth is not rudeness. I don't understand how we have got to a point where not telling people what's really going on is the correct thing to say. Oh, be polite, don't tell the truth. I think the truth matters.
So some of your colleagues who complain about it are what, snowflakes?
Well, like I said, the people who've worked with me are supporting me. Of course, there'll be rival camps. There'll be other people who want a different person, perhaps because maybe they're on their wing of the party, or a job has been promised, or they have a personal relationship.
What wing of the party would you put yourself on?
I am on the right of the party, but I'm very pragmatic. So I don't think, because a lot of the people in my life are not necessarily political or right-wing, I don't think that just simply being right is enough. You have to be able to communicate right-wing values in a way that sells. And that often means being pragmatic. And that's what I do.
In that case, how come so many members of the Tory right are not backing you? They're backing Robert Jemrek. Well,
it's because of one specific issue, which is that he will make a commitment to leave the ECHR on day one.
You think it all comes down to that?
Yes, people have told me that. And I think that this is how we've got ourselves into this mess. We have lots of people who say things without knowing how they're going to do it. My view is that if we left the ECHR today, we would still have a small boats problem. Other countries are in the ECHR, they're deporting a lot more than we are. The reason why is because they have people working in their Home Office equivalent who want to enforce borders. The people in our Home Office, certainly the ones that I met, are not interested in doing that. Doesn't matter what laws you bring in, if you don't change the people, you will not solve the problem. So my strategy for tackling immigration is get people who will do the job, not people who want to work in refugee and asylum assistance, which is where many of them have actually come from.
And how would you do that? How do you do that without, constrained by the employment laws and regulations in this country? You can't just walk into the Home Office and clear out the civil service.
Well, actually, if you want to, you can. But you need a Prime Minister.
You imagine the screaming from the BBC and the Guardian and the Blob.
And also remember, they are employed in the civil service. They don't necessarily have to be in the Home Office. There are lots of things you can do, but you have to want to do it. Doing things like, let's have a new law, let's have a new regulation. We've made more and more and more laws than ever before, and we're not able to enforce them. Enforcement matters.
What you're implying, though, is Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, these people didn't have the stomach for the fight.
No, what I'm saying is that they had a different diagnosis. My diagnosis is that it's the people. If that was not their diagnosis, of course, they're not going to do that.
But the ECHR is the overbearing issue on lots of things, as well as the Refugee Convention. You've said, I think, you want to reform the ECHR.
I think that if we need to leave the ECHR in order to solve the small boats problem, then we should do.
But how long are you willing to give it, though, before you make that decision?
But there are other things that need to be done first. I've talked about people. I've also said that legal immigration has a lot of illegality in it. Reforming the ECHR is not something we can do alone. There is appetite for that with other countries. We may have to leave, but my point is that we've been promising people all sorts of things that haven't happened. We're going to leave this, we'll leave the EU, we'll have CAP, we'll do this and that, and none of those things have worked. Why are they not working? If we don't ask ourselves why are they not working, then we're making the same mistake.
A legally binding cap we haven't had, and it doesn't. And you've said you don't want one, or you wouldn't put one. It's not terrible.
I haven't said that I wouldn't have a legally binding cap. I've just said a legally binding cap doesn't solve the problem. You can have a cap. Let's have a cap of 100.
Where would it be? 100,000, 200,000?
Yeah. Why don't we have a cap of 100 people? What happens if the 100 people coming in are all terrorists? Have you solved the problem? No, you haven't. This is how people use words to confuse. It is about who is coming into the country. You solve the who, then almost the cap becomes irrelevant. You can have a cap, but who is coming in, nobody wants to talk about. What countries they're coming from, nobody wants to talk about. That is how you solve immigration. Not say, OK, we'll have 10,000, maybe we'll have 8,000, maybe we'll have 7,000, but the people don't want to enforce. We don't know who's coming in. That is not serious. I'm an engineer. I work with systems. You start with a diagnosis. What is wrong? It's who's coming in. It's who's enforcing. You do that. And then if all of that doesn't work, maybe then you leave the ECHR.
How long do you give it, though? How long would you empower need to reform
I
the
think
system?
all of this is detail that does not take into account the reality. We are not in government. Who knows what the situation is going to be in 5 years' time? Labour's got a stonking majority, as you said. How do we hold the people who are there to account now? As it is, it's unlikely that we will be in government before 2029 if we get the choice of the leader right and the choice of the policies right. So what are we going to do about the people who are there now? They are not serious about controlling borders. You might say that we failed, but we tried. They're not even going to try. All the stuff they've talked about is stuff that we've done before. This migrant plan with Albania, we had a plan with Albania. It's not new. They haven't thought about it, and they don't know what to do. That's the real issue.
You going to win?
I think so.
Yeah?
But I'm going to fight for every vote. I'm not being complacent.
Got your conference speech ready?
I'm working on it as we speak.
Well, hopefully we'll speak again at conference. Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much for coming us. Never mind the ballots.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Don't go away. We'll be back later in the week with some people from Reform. You won't want to miss it. Subscribe, youtube.com/sunpolitics. See you then.